Hey everybody, welcome to another Cases. Hey everybody, welcome to another Cases and Conversations. And we're actually going to separate those two out on this episode, I think, really well. So we start with conversation, then we're going to get into the case. And the case this time is...
Well, it's on weight loss and metabolism boosting.
Not that that's needed anywhere. What was your percentage?
Well, our conversation is about this... I'd call it an epidemic of overweight and obesity that we're seeing. Well, we saw the statistics. It was like 72% of our population is either overweight or I think it's...
What would you classify
40% is obese and 32% is overweight, which makes it 72% is struggling with something.
Are you saying I'm overweight?
Where you don't classify in that. You're, but it's a struggle. I mean,
I have an opportunity. I got to say, I'm trying to lose a little extra.
Eric, optimizing. You're trying to optimize
Could
body
be
composition,
optimizing,
maybe.
Anyway.
But we really
There's an opportunity.
We have, if you look at our population that comes into us, patients come to us because they're on this journey to try to live optimally. And they've been doing a lot of good, hard work. And then they're still finding themselves, in a situation where they're like, what's going on? I'm like exercising, eating well, trying to do all this.
Is frustrating to
and
people. And maybe even more so women than men, I think, a lot of times.
Mm-hmm. So that's what I think our conversation was about how it is so complex. It's not one thing. It's not just a diet.
Right.
It's not just exercise.
And I think at our age, we're not 18 anymore. Remember when you were younger and you're like, hey, I'm just going to lose some weight, and you did.
Or you didn't have to worry really about your weight.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And now it's, to your point, a lot more complicated. There's layers in our life that compound into whether we are gaining weight or not.
Well, and it's interesting. Our body kind of gets at these new set points, and our body likes homeostasis. So
balance,
for some reason, it finds this new set point, and it just kind of says like, yeah, I got to work to keep you here. And as our case is going to show later, it's usually we have to approach it from so many different angles that it's not just one thing that's going to help someone.
Right.
And
because we kind of layer in, it's like, okay, let's try these. We know, there's this statistic that says 80% of our weight is dependent on what we eat, 20% exercise. I've heard you say that one.
Dr. Hyman always says,
sometimes it gets more complicated than that, right? So that is true, but maybe there's like hormones that are impacting someone's weight, stress, and the one you've been saying for the last couple years now is gut. That the gut, so those are just to name a few. If any of those things are off or out of balance, then you'll see a symptom of maybe weight gain.
And as you're coaching people, I think, well, you can talk about that. Like you've been doing, you've been meeting with people, and a lot of them, that's kind of one of their main personal goals, their health focus for those 4 months. And I've been saying, okay, let's step back, and instead of making weight loss your goal, then we're focusing on like maybe it's blood sugar balance, because that's another thing that I see a lot of people, the way they're eating, they're having these spikes in blood sugar all day. And so then they're chasing it because your insulin has to go up every time your blood sugar goes up. And so then you're running in this high insulin state, you get insulin resistance. And what's the side effect of insulin is weight gain.
Right.
And so we might be talking about that, or we might talk about stress, because cortisol also creates this state where we want to hold on to belly fat. We're stressed. We're in a fight or flight and kind of a preservative mode. Our insulin gets messed up from that too. What other things? Well, sleep.
Right. It's all 4 pillars that impact it to some level. I know that as I'm coaching people and as we get wiser or just flat out older, the ability to lose weight rapidly is really not there anymore. So I think we've got to get people used to saying I'm going to be patient in this process. So back when it was a couple days or a couple weeks to lose some weight, now it's a couple months to a year. I mean, it's a lot longer than what you think. And I think we've got to get people used to being okay with this, creating a new rhythm that you know is healthy for you. The byproduct of this new healthy optimal rhythm will eventually be weight loss, but it's going to maybe take a while.
And it didn't.
And that's hard
the
for
weight
people.
gain didn't happen overnight. And then it's like, it is a reset. I always try to think like we're trying to get to the root cause, right, of what has shifted your metabolism. And metabolism is just basically how your body burns calories and fat and uses up calories, right? You take calories in and then we burn them off. And so that metabolism equation, what happened? Why is there this imbalance going on? And so, yeah, you're right. Like sometimes, think about your gut and the gut reset. It usually is like a 3-month cycle of all this cell turnover. And sometimes it's even longer if you've got some adrenal issues going on, or you're in the crux of menopause or something going on with that. So, I would say though, if people are patient and willing to work with this, we have had some amazing results, as we're going to show in this one case. But, I don't know. I think people are frustrated.
Right.
And then what do you think the biggest
hurdle? I think
hurdle?
the thing that's exciting about your and my opportunity to work with these patients is that, to your point, it's never one thing. And how many doctors have the time to dive into each patient like you do to get to that root cause? Because it's layers of whys. And so it's like, well, let's give this a go. Okay, well, that wasn't exactly it, but let's give this a go, right? And you are affording your time for your patients so that you can get down to the exact reason why the whole body is out of balance, and let's get it back into balance. Let's get some healthy rhythms in how we breathe, eat, move, sleep, and weight loss is always a big part of it, right? Because you're going to get back to a healthy weight when you do these things, right? But many doctors don't have the time like you do with our patients, which is why we have a tiny group of people that we work with, so we can afford your little smarty pants mind for them.
Well, let's look at the pillars from testing standpoint to coaching standpoint. So breathe. We've talked before about one of the tests I do, the Dutch test, and it has on it some adrenal testing, and you don't always have to do testing. I mean, honestly, in this patient that I'm going to talk about, we did some labs, but I didn't do that in-depth testing. I just knew from the history, because again, if you spend time and you talk to someone, the clinical history gives you all these clues as to stress is definitely playing a role into this person's life. And so what do you do on that end when you're trying to work with people, if that's their biggest hurdle when you're coaching them on trying to help with weight loss?
The hurdle is what?
Breathe, like stress.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think the thing we have to recognize probably in any busy culture is everybody has it. The question is, are you managing your stress well? The easy thing is, do you have a good balance in life, right? Do you go to work hard, and then do you come home and do some hobbies or exercise or eat really healthy, or, then that's a good balance. But a lot of times people work super hard, high stress, high production. Then they come home and they're overly busy, like they've overcommitted, and now there's a stress there. And then maybe their relationships aren't perfect, so there's a stress. I mean, it's just too many stresses. And there's a point where, I'm sorry, we break as humans when the stress gets too high. So, I mean, if you're in this, rhythm of constantly breaking, and we all know when we break, right? Well, we're calling some of this just behavioral health conditions. You've got too much stress, right? And so the question is, are you willing to make the change? Now, this is the thing I see in coaching. I would say maybe 25, 30% people are okay with change. It's just a tiny group of people.
Right.
It's hard. And so, I mean, hopefully we get to them to the point to where they're not breaking too much, and that becomes their charge for change, right? Or sometimes we get people in, it's like, I know I'm out in left field. I am willing. I'm ready. It's not willing. Now I'm ready to change, where before they weren't ready. So that's a hard one on the stress pillar. It's super complicated.
And I think everybody uses,
I
mean, we all use, I don't have enough time as our excuse for being able to implement like all these changes.
That's a dead giveaway that you're not ready.
And so we have to make a choice to
you're not ready.
Say, I've got to either
if that's it,
build
if you're
in
saying
margins,
I'm too busy, then you're not ready.
Go. Yeah.
And you'll continue to be where you are.
Mm-hmm. And I think all the tools like the breathing and the mindfulness and meditation and the yoga nidra that we do, I mean, those are honestly have been, because sometimes we can't change circumstances that are creating major stress, right? And then that has tipped us into this sympathetic and our cortisol and all this is going on, but we can change how we're managing the situation.
Let's share with them why that happens. So let's say we're in sympathetic fight, flight, freeze, stress mode a lot. Mm-hmm. The mind goes into survival mode. And in survival mode, we're in reactive mode. Mm-hmm. So the yoga nidra, the breathing practices, the stillness, the meditation, the prayer, I don't care what it is, gives you an opportunity to be conscious. And when you're conscious, you see at a higher, it's like you move up to a 40,000 foot level of your life, and you can look back and go, I think I'm in left field. But when you're down in it and you're just in reactive mode, and some people almost hang their hat, I get a lot of stuff done in a day. Versus, so we're not human beings anymore, right? We're human doers. We hang a hat on that versus a being. I'm just being present. I'm being in the moment. And so I think that's the difference is we have to drive the yoga nidra, breathing exercise, all this stuff, drive consciousness. Consciousness gives us an opportunity to reflect on ourselves long enough to recognize that we're out of balance. And that's it.
And I just think we underestimate how much that stress is contributing to our shift in our metabolism and kind of that being stuck. So you do have to face it. And then the sleep kind of, on two ends of our pillars, that tends to go hand in hand when people are stressed and their sleep's off. It's another thing that just makes it so hard to get that shift because again, we want to be in like more of a fat burning, muscle building, active energy mode. And people come in exhausted, fatigued, slow metabolism, can't lose weight, trying to exercise, trying to eat right, and it's just not working. Well, if you're not going to deal with those two pillars, it's probably not going to get where you want it to be. So,
right.
I guess so.
So that's really good though, because I think a lot of times people are like, "Man, that can't be the reason," and we're telling you, it is.
Well, and
it's the bookends.
I
it's
see
the
it over and over.
The
I help people with all these like just natural ways and your coaching and supplements. So, and then the eat pillar. One thing I wanted to just mention is I love this book, Glucose Revolution, and following the glucose goddess on Instagram. You need to check her out. And it's all about balancing your blood sugar and kind of some hacks about how we're eating that will positively affect how we're metabolizing sugar and spiking or not spiking our blood sugar and not spiking our insulin. And all of that is crucial as well. And so you don't have to be diabetic for this to be pertinent. It's just a really scientifically proven way to help balance out your metabolism. So I would highly recommend people look at that. I've been talking to almost every patient that is on this journey about looking at that book.
You say this all the time, which is when we spike the blood sugar, the rise isn't such a big deal to our bells and whistles system in the body, our limbic system. But when it drops super fast, then this is when we might get hangry or irritable or the mind's like, go eat another ho-ho. Right? Anything that has high sugar in it will come to mind. And then we now are on a quest to find anything that is going to help to level out the blood sugar because the body doesn't like it. So, and you've said this over and over again, then a big push is stabilize. When we stabilize the blood sugar, we have less cravings. Less cravings, then less mistakes with how we eat.
And you mentioned hormones. There are so many hormones besides like our testosterone and estrogen. There are hormones that control our weight, our hunger, our metabolism. So insulin is one. There's adiponectin, leptin, ghrelin. There are all these, and they have to do with like our hunger or our satiety, which is like how satisfied you are after you eat, and then when you start getting cravings again. And what we see is this will shift those. You have to reset them though, because a lot of people like their ghrelin is like up here. And so like they're always like, they'll eat, but then they're like hungry quickly. Or, same thing with some of these others like leptin and stuff. So as you start shifting these and balancing them where they need to be, one might be too low and one too high, and same thing with your insulin, then you literally get this new steady state, and it reprograms the connection, like your brain and your body and your gut. And so, I mean, it's wild. You see it all the time. People will be like, I just don't have the cravings I normally do, or I don't feel. And part of this is we're going to talk about, one of the things we do are some natural supplements. There's an injection, an infusion, and then there are some tablets that we use.
Are we moving into the case?
Well, I'm just fast forwarding.
Yes.
No, it's not the case.
Okay.
This is just still conversation.
Okay.
But those are for helping reset those hormones as well. So before we get into the case, I'm actually going to talk about those. But still on the eat pillar, you can do so much if you just, honestly, I would highly recommend get the book, read it. It's really great to help you. And then the move pillar, that's kind of your, strength on helping the patients figure out how they're going to make this doable in their life.
Well, and I think it's going to be helpful for the metabolism, right? Because for some reason, when we're 18, it's just revved up. And as we get wiser, it starts to fall down. It's slow. Mine's slower now than when I was 18. Right? When you're 18, it's revved up. You can sit on the couch and
you just
do
burn
whatever,
calories,
and you burn calories,
yeah.
right? So, but not anymore. So the beauty of doing, having a little bit of a rhythm of exercise, maybe every day, ideally, then the metabolism stays a little higher than where it is if we don't. And then that just burns more calories, which is helpful, which is also why it's not how we lose weight. But it's good for the body. And I think the other one that is, you say all the time, is 14 minutes of target heart rate. Statistics has shown puts about another 7 years of life on your life. I mean, why would you not do that? Now, that's not going to, if you're trying to lose weight, which right now I'm trying to lose a little extra. So I exercise more, right? I'm doing most of mine are, 20, 30 minutes. I've got an hour, a couple times a week I do. So,
well, if you think about it too, we naturally lose muscle mass as we age. So if we can put on muscle mass, have more lean muscle mass to body fat, we're going to, just sitting here, we're going to burn more calories.
Right.
Muscle burns more calories, even at rest, than fat. So that's the goal of all this exercise and strength training and things that are going to help increase your metabolism, meaning just at rest, how many calories you just naturally burn. Yeah. So, let's go on. And before we do the case, I just wanted to talk about, I have notes so I don't forget.
Oh, go ahead. Yes.
There are a couple things that we had so many patients just, again, frustrated and needing extra tools. And so we're working with them on all of these things. But sometimes it's like they need something else to like get that revving up of their metabolism, boosting of their energy, because a lot of times it's just like if you're so exhausted, you just don't even have the motivation and energy to get exercising, right? Or to have the energy to go shop and organize good, healthy meals. Meal prep, whatever. So we started looking into this, and there were, through our company that we use, Olympia, they have some really great ones. One is called Lipomino. It's an injection, and we've had really good success with that. It is, usually it's once a week. I know you can do it even up to twice a week. It's a mixture of B vitamins and then methionine and acetylcholine, which are amino acids, basically. And so I want to just talk a little bit about what's in those. So, well, B vitamins, they are like our energy producers, but they also, it's interesting, B vitamins do help convert food into glucose, which we need glucose as fuel, right? So that's that quick fuel for energy, for our muscles and for our brain. And so that's part of what they do. And so they also just kind of help stimulate fat burning. And so that's nice. That's a boost to your metabolism. They convert fat to energy, help you burn fat. And there's, for those that remember the Krebs cycle, they are what we call cofactors, and they're needed in so many of those different steps where we make ATP. And ATP is that
is energy.
Energy.
Pure energy.
So these B vitamins are very important, and there's like B1, B2, B3, B5, B6, B12. A lot of those are in different mixes. And so one is in our shots, and then we've also got an infusion that we do. And so I'll talk about the shot first. The shot, the methionine and acetylcholine, those are kind of interesting too. They are, again, amino acids that help to like our body to metabolize fat cells and to release them and eliminate stored fat. And then also it works in our liver. And so a lot of people have fatty liver. It helps with that as well, like kind of releasing some of the fatty deposits, and which helps our liver to detox better and metabolize hormones. And so it's interesting. I mean, I think there's a lot. And inositol is in there, and choline, and those also do the exact same thing, like kind of give you energy but help burn and metabolize fat. So we've been using those, very, very safe, natural way to help. And just the energy and decreased cravings has been interesting. That's, it's resetting those hormones. And that's the thing that people are like, I just have less of an appetite. I get full quicker. And this is so safe. All the old, there's a lot of old weight loss meds that aren't so safe. They boost your metabolism, but they're like stimulants, basically, like in the amphetamine class. So that's not sustainable and healthy.
I think you're right, though, Amy. How many people come in after they've been on this go, I just feel like I have a lot more energy.
I'm getting things
and
done.
You can just see how fatigued people are today.
Yeah.
And you can see where they're not, because of the fatigue, they're not motivated to do a lot of things.
And it bypasses your gut, right? I mean, again, we're working with people on gut, but a lot of times if your gut is out of balance, those healthy bacteria in our gut get fed by all these fiber and fruits and veggies and whole grains, and then they help us either metabolize or absorb all these vitamins. And so, I mean, they're finding certain bacteria related to like B12 and B12 deficiencies and all of this. So if your gut is disrupted, which tons of us do have maybe an imbalance and aren't eating enough veggies and fruits and things, then it's just a way to bypass and kind of get you caught up. And it's almost like a reset. So we'll do this. Everybody's different, maybe a couple months or something. And then we've helped them get this shift and this new steady state. And hopefully they've really been doing all the other work, because we don't just do a shot and you go. We do this whole weight loss program where we're really implementing all the coaching and the resources. And then there's an infusion called B-Lean that we use as well. And it has taurine, which it's interesting. It helps like hydration and electrolytes and mineral balance and fat metabolism. And it helps us, lipolysis, which is like fat breakdown. And then it has the B's in it that we use too. So, and B12. So, those have just been great tools that we've added for our patients and seen some pretty amazing benefits.
Yeah.
We're not going to get into some of the prescription ones. Like I know a lot of people are now using semaglutide and asking about that. Maybe that's a topic for future debate, or discussion. I use it in select populations and it's amazing too. So, but this has all been some really great, safe things that really naturally just kind of restore a new reset. And a new,
much more cost effective than the semaglutide, depending on your insurance. That can be outrageously expensive. Yeah.
Okay.
So are you moving into your case? Okay, let's get it going.
All right. So it's a 50-year-old female who came in and, of course, is at that age going through menopause, hormone changes, fatigue, has some IBS, battling with sleep trouble, headaches, and then saying and it's weird, like these spells of anxiety for no reason. So can't sleep, and we'll have just a feeling of anxiousness, but exhausted and obviously stressed. It's, this is the crunch middle of the taking care of kids and work and parents. And so it's a busy time in life. So even good stress is stress on our system. And so I initially, honestly, before doing a lot of tests, just started on some adrenal support, some supplements that help adrenals, and something called Dim Detox, because a lot of women enter menopause and they're like tanked in their progesterone, but they're still having kind of a high estrogen and they're not breaking them down well. And so I did that and gave some progesterone when we got the labs back and gave ashwagandha. So pretty quickly, she felt less stressed, wasn't having that anxiety, was sleeping. And then also realized that like vitamin D was really low and B's were low. Started on those vitamins and some DHEA, which is just a natural supplement to help kind of general hormone support. So again, energy by then was great, sleep great, headaches gone. Still a little frustrated because wasn't seeing the weight loss changes. So we talked about lipomino, and then was like, yeah, we probably need to step back and do more gut support. And so we did probiotics, greens, started the lipomino injections, and to see the shifts in the body. I mean, this was a person that came to us already eating well, exercising,
and frustrated with why am I gaining weight?
Yeah. And it's, a lot of times it ends up being kind of the belly thing that we women see in menopause, where that gets to be the hardest to get rid of. So, it was really neat. BMI has dropped 3 points, increased muscle mass, decreased body fat, and increased hydration. Lost, I think, almost 15 pounds, and just
that's with
feels
weight. That's
so
with
good.
the muscle gain.
And it was so much muscle
even
gain.
more,
so that's the other thing. I kept saying, let's look at the body composition on the scale that we have, and not focus on the number. So, it was exciting. And I think the other thing is, you met with her, and she did commit, and she did her coaching. And I know you had sometimes even had to kind of step back and look at the diet a little more, about what are you putting in your drinks or your coffee, or what kind of things are you drinking, because things are hidden.
The glycemic index,
much.
That's what's key. We have to be that mini scientist for what do we put in our body that will be converted quickly to sugar. And then it's that simple.
I think, and I can't remember, you might remember, you guys, I don't know if you shifted the exercise or did. I know she worked on, how to let go of some of the stressors, or maybe just be more mindful. And anyway, it wasn't one thing, but it was pretty remarkable to watch. And she said, thank you for, not letting me give up and get frustrated, because I'll tell you, probably even 6 weeks in, was still a little on that frustrated, like, I don't know if I'm seeing this. And it was like, be patient. You're making so many good changes. It's layering effect. And now here we are. It's been 5 months, but pretty amazing to see how great she looks, and she's glowing from the inside out and feels well. So
I know, it's exciting. And I think that's it. It's a longer journey as we get wiser than what we would like, and then to be okay with that. But to know at the end of the day, once you can get to this new set point, and that becomes your set point, then that now becomes your home base, right? Your body's going to want to keep you there. You still need to keep the rhythms. You can't go back to what you were doing, because you'll go back to where you were.
Habits.
But the new rhythm and the new habits are going to be critical. All right.
Okay.
Thank you for sharing. That was wonderful. And so if there's any of you out there that are, having this same kind of thought that, I'd like to lose weight, then just know, obviously the members, we're here for you all the time. This is what we do. And others that want to put a comment down, we're happy to continue to share these things with you. Hopefully it helps. Asking your provider, hopefully they do these kinds of things as well. But if not, ask them to do so, maybe. So wishing you guys a wonderful day. Take care, bye.